Have you guys ever heard something or been told something that was just so downright spooky that for the next week, you couldn't quite shake the thought? You couldn't get it out of your head. It was in your mind right before you went to bed. It was the first thing on your mind right when you woke up. Now, mind you, on this show that's all about storytelling, that if you can't tell, it kind of has a theme of sticking to a more so darker vibe. You know, these stories are a bit on the spooky side, a bit on the mysterious side. They involve a lot of death, unfortunately. And, you know, I'm no stranger to having to learn about sort of spooky, strange, and unsettling stories. I mean, just 2 episodes ago, I covered a serial killer that was preying on my hometown. But I must say that even with that being said, even covering a serial killer and covering a man who perished in the World Trade Center and covering a man who on film, you know, read his death note in his final moments, even covering all that, there is not a story that shook me to the core in my research and just knowing of it than this story today. This story is about the innocence and maybe misjudgment of adolescence. This story is about letting your guard down to a fault. This story is about a good night gone horribly, horribly wrong. And this story is about a Miss Kinneka Jenkins. Now, Miss Kenneka Jenkins was born on May 20th, 1998 in Chicago, Illinois. She was the daughter of Miss Teresa Martin. And she and Miss Teresa, you know, Kenneka and Miss Teresa, her mother, were very, very close. So close to the point that Miss Kenneka Jenkins actually took care of her mother in 2017 when she was recovering from breast cancer. And so that kind of just goes to show off the bat that Miss Kenneka Jenkins was a really good kid. I mean, she was only 19 when tragedy had struck. You know, friends would often describe her as being very happy, just very pleasant all the time. It was pretty much impossible to even be in a bad mood around Miss Kenneka because, you know, her vibe just would not allow it. I mean, she did not allow any negativity within herself, and she did not allow any negativity around her. Many would describe her as like a ball of sunshine. And not only that, but she was also academically, she performed really well. She was really dedicated to her studies, very disciplined in that sense. And she was actually gearing up and getting ready to go into nursing school around the time this tragedy took place. And on the night of this tragedy, she was actually meeting up with friends to go see a movie and go bowling in celebration of her getting a job at a nursing home. And so she would actually leave home on September 8th, 2017, around 11 p.m. And as she's leaving the house, she told her mom that she was going to the movies and she was going bowling to celebrate her getting this job. And unbeknownst to her mother, this was the last time that she would see her daughter alive. And so she's actually borrowing her mother's vehicle, and she meets up with 2 of her other friends who, for reasons that I will mention later, I will not mention their names. She meets up with those 2 friends, and they decide that instead of going to the bowling alley and going to see that movie that Kenneka had told her mom she was going to go see, she actually decided that she'd rather go to a party that was being thrown by another friend of all 3 of the girls, a party that was being held in a nearby town of Rosemont, Illinois, in a hotel by the name of the Crown Plaza. And so they hatch up this idea and they say, yo, we're going to blow this scene. We're not going to go to the movies. We're going to go to this hotel party. But on the way there, let's make a few stops. And so on the way, they actually ended up stopping and they picked up a Bluetooth speaker. They stopped at an alcohol store and picked up some alcohol. And they made another stop and picked up some marijuana. And they continued on to the party. The night would progress, and at around 1:13 a.m., Miss Kenneka Jenkins, as well as her two friends that was now accommodating her, they can be seen on surveillance footage making their way into the hotel through the side entrance. And at around 1:30 a.m., Miss Kenneka Jenkins would send a text message to her sister. And unbeknownst to her sister, this is the last communication that Miss Kenneka Jenkins would have to the outside world. And so they make it up to the hotel, and the party is actually held on the 9th floor in room 927. And so they're in this room, and they're in this it's not a small room, but it's a room that is still only meant to accommodate 4 people. And mind you, when you decide to throw a party in a room that's meant for 4 people, even if you only had a small gathering of friends, it's still going to be very cluttered. It's still going to appear very crowded, and it's still going to get noisy. And that room that was meant to actually accommodate 4 people tops was accommodating 30 people in this here party. And so all night they're receiving all kinds of noise complaints, and guests staying in neighboring rooms are complaining to the front desk that they're getting strong scents of marijuana. I mean, it's a fucking full-blown party happening in this like rather small hotel room. And that is when around 1:36 a.m., a friend of Miss Kenneka Jenkins, and actually I believe the girl who the party was being thrown for, gets on Facebook Live and decides to sort of live stream the festivities. Now the party hasn't quite started yet. It's sort of ramping up, and you can actually hear some audible chatter and laughter going on in the background. And one of the notable characters that you hear in the background is Miss Kenneka Jenkins. Now we're going to pause for a second. One of the reasons that this story is so damn spooky is, of course, the way in which things unfolded, which I will get to later, but the reasoning for why those things unfolded, or at least the reasoning that we're told, doesn't quite add up on a surface level, okay? And one of the reasons that people have so many questions and they're not really trusting in the information that was given to us in the official report is because in that Facebook video, that Facebook Live, you can hear Kenneka Jenkins in the background talking amongst her friend and a few other patrons in the party, some male guests that they met at that hotel room. And it doesn't sound like Kenneka Jenkins is having the best time. It doesn't even sound like she wants to be there. And actually, if you listen closely in that video, if I can access the footage, I'll go ahead and put in that audio now.
I'm not drunk. You have to enjoy yourself. I am enjoying myself.
What's up? You riding with me or what?
You could hear one of her friends telling Kenneka that she needs to, quote unquote, have a good time, lighten up, enjoy herself. To which Kenneka defensively pleads with her friend that she is having a good time and she is enjoying herself and she is loosened up.
You have to enjoy yourself. I am enjoying myself.
And then as that same Facebook Live would progress, you then hear Kenneka Jenkins now chatting with one of the male guests in the party. And there appears to be some sort of, I don't know if you'd call this flirting or I'm not too sure what to call the banter. But it sounds like the gentleman is wanting something from Miss Kenneka. It sounds like he wants to like give her a ride somewhere or is trying to flirt or get her number or something, and Miss Kenneka does not seem to be giving in.
You hit me? I'm out here. I'm telling you. What's up? You riding with me, boy? You tripping? I don't trip.
And so in that Facebook Live, it just seems off. It just seems off. And that was like the first red flag when this whole story came to light, came to the public eye back in 2017. Okay. And so the night would progress, and actually around 2:17 a.m., Kenneka Jenkins is seen on various Snapchat posts in the hotel's bathroom, the hotel room's bathroom, just sort of hanging out with friends, nothing too much going on, just more mixing and mingling, and the party would progress. And actually, sometime later at 3 a.m. is when Kenneka Jenkins and her friends decide that they had enough and they're ready to bounce. They leave the party, and they leave the party in a much different state than the state they had arrived in. Okay, all three of them are definitely, quite obviously, under the influence of Mary Jane and alcohol. And Kenneka Jenkins, more so, is definitely a lot more visibly under the influence of alcohol. Okay, they leave the hotel room 927. The three girls, including Kenneka Jenkins, and they make it to the elevator bank. And right as they're going to press the elevator to make their way down to the lobby, Kenneka Jenkins realizes, oh, I forgot my phone, and I forgot my mom's car keys in the damn room. Now, this part is not on camera, but the conversation that was had was, okay, you just stay here and wait for us, okay? And the two girls that were accompanying Miss Kenneka Jenkins left a very much chemically altered Kenneka Jenkins in the hallway by herself. And the two friends went to go retrieve Miss Kenneka Jenkins' belongings. And according to them, they were only gone for 10 to 15 minutes. Well, during that time, Kenneka Jenkins, for reasons that are unconfirmed, decides that she does not want to wait in that weird-ass, creepy-ass hotel elevator bank, and she makes her way into the elevator and presses LL. It is believed that she meant to press L, okay? L meaning lobby, obviously, you know? You come in through the lobby, you exit through the lobby, okay? Obviously, they were making their exit, so Kenneka Jenkins, I believe, clearly meant to push L. However, in that elevator, one of the buttons was labeled LL. And according to that same hotel, it's not quite uncommon for many of the guests to push that button, the LL button, thinking that they're going to the lobby. Well, actually, LL stands for lower level. Kenneka Jenkins mistakenly pushed the button to the basement of the hotel. Okay. Now, this wouldn't be a big deal if you're in a sober state of mind, but when you're already extremely disoriented in a foreign environment, it's very easy to get lost. And at this point in our story, that is when things get fucking, I say this word so much, but spooky. So spooky. Have you guys ever seen, I mean, come on, Gen Z, I say it all the time. Gen Z, we're obsessed with true crime. We're obsessed with serial killers. We're obsessed with murder mysteries, all that shit. We've seen plenty of surveillance footage. We've seen plenty of iPhone cameras of bystanders, recording crime scene or crimes and it later being used as evidence. There is something that is so unsettling about surveillance footage. I can't put my finger on it, but something is just so uncanny. Something is so spooky about watching somebody, especially in their final moments, through surveillance. Them not even knowing, one, that it is their final moments, but two, that they're being watched. Okay. And that is why this story gets so damn spooky, because once the elevator doors open up to the lower level, aka the basement of that hotel, Kenneka's journey is documented from start to finish on surveillance cameras. Okay. And so she could be seen drunkenly stumbling out of the elevators at around 3:15, 3:20. She could be seen stumbling. When I say she was really inebriated and should not have been left alone, I'm not going to point any fingers. I'm not going to blame those young women that left her. We've all done, made poor decisions, especially being young and in a state of intoxication. So I'm not going to totally point any fingers here, but not a good idea. And let this be a lesson. I don't know what my demographic is. It's actually not as young as I thought, but still, if you have kids who watch if you're watching this and you have kids, or you are a kid yourself and you're in that party stage of your life, if you take nothing from me, I'm not an old man, but I'm 26. My wild party days are coming to an end, but I have a lot of experience and wisdom to bestow upon thee. If there's one thing you take from me, when you and your buddies, I don't care if you're at your house, your friend's house, the nightclub, the bar, your parents' house, when you guys are under the influence of any substance that dramatically alters your physiology, do not at any point in the night separate from the group that you came with, okay? This definitely goes for women, but for men as well. Stay together, okay? And so she's left alone. She is now in the basement and she's wandering around. And it's not known if she knew that she wasn't in the lobby, or if she was lost in looking for the lobby. She looks disoriented, but many chalk it up to be the amount of the substance in her system. But many also believe that it was because she was just lost. And so she is incoherently stumbling around, looking left, looking right. And as she exits the elevator bank, immediately to her left, she even in the camera, in the footage, she turns and looks. There are stairs, 2 flights of stairs, that all you have to do is just take those 2 flights of stairs up and you are now in the lobby, okay? If she would have just taken that left and went up the stairs, I would be doing a different fucking story tonight, because there wouldn't be a story. That's where this thing would have ended. She would have found herself in the lobby and knew she was in the lobby, and she would have met up with her friends, and that would have been it. But she continues straight. She walks right past the stairs that would have guided her to safety. And she, as the footage progresses, she is now visibly lost. Where the fuck am I? And she is stumbling around. And at a certain point in the footage, you see her. This is how we know that she was lost. She stumbles into the men's bathroom. And she's there for about 49 seconds. And she stumbles in. Who knows what she did in there? And she stumbles back out. Okay. And she continues for quite some time. I mean, they left that party at 3 a.m. and it's now coming up on 3:30. Okay. 3:29 a.m. to be exact. And that is when Miss Kenneka Jenkins could be seen. Somehow, she has wandered into a staff-only section of the basement, into a kitchen. Okay, she's on the lower level, she's on the basement, but the kitchen was actually on the second level of the lower level. You got to walk up, and I'll include the picture. You got to walk up a really creepy looking flight of stairs to even get into this renovated kitchen. Okay. And so she somehow finds her way into the fucking kitchen, and she can be seen stumbling into a section of the kitchen that is not under surveillance. And if you watch that footage, as she disappears into that section of the kitchen, a door or a shadow of a door could be seen opening and closing. And it is believed that that is when a Miss Kinneka Jenkins would make her way into the cooler of said kitchen. As mentioned prior, the whole section of that part of the basement of the hotel, as well as the kitchen, was being renovated. So it's completely empty. At even the busiest times of the day in that hotel, it is empty. Okay, so there's not many people to see her and say, man, what the hell are you doing down here? There's no security making their way through. I mean, nobody should really be in there. And so she wanders into that cooler. And actually, once you get into that cooler, that is only the first entrance, okay? Because inside of that cooler, there is another door, another reinforced big steel door that leads to a freezer, a giant freezer, which, despite the kitchen being renovated, was still being used for storage, okay? Because they were actually building another restaurant in that hotel in addition to the restaurant that they already had. And so because there was already a functioning restaurant within the hotel, they still needed space to store their freezer goods like meat and perishables. And so they were using the freezer that was in the renovated kitchen. And so it's on. And the thing about this big industrial freezer is it gets to as low as 8 degrees Fahrenheit. Cold as all get out, okay? Sidebar. 2 years ago, back in 2021, here in San Antonio, Texas, we got some snow. For the second time in my life, or the third time, I had witnessed snow in Texas. And that was the first time in my life that I had witnessed weather that was below 15 degrees. It actually got to 11 degrees. And if you don't buy clothes, if you're not wearing the proper protection for weather that is below like 15 degrees, you can put on every article of clothing that you fucking own, okay? You will still be cold, okay? That was the first time I experienced my bones were cold. And we're talking about 11 degrees, okay? My fucking bones were cold. It was like a strong snowstorm had come in. And so my sister, my girlfriend, we all decided to go for a little walk around the neighborhood. 5 minutes into that walk, it was like painfully cold, no matter how much you were bundled up. And so to be inside of something that is so cold, you can only imagine. And so we get back to Miss Kinneka Jenkins, and she actually wanders into the cooler, and through her being disoriented, opens up the freezer door that is located inside of the cooler and walks into the freezer. Now, let's say you got if you're a big restaurant, you got $10,000 worth of meat and perishables that you're storing in this freezer. This freezer needs to be kept at this temperature. Otherwise, all this shit expires and you as the manager, you're fucking fired. So a lot of times these big industrial freezers will have doors that shut automatically. And so Kenneka opens the fucking freezer door, walks into the freezer, and the freezer door shuts automatically behind her, locking her in a freezer that gets as low as 8 degrees Fahrenheit. She is not wearing the proper protection at all. It's fucking September. So even if she did have it's September, so she's dressed for the fucking summertime, okay? And there's no light source inside of that freezer. So she is stuck in a pitch black freezer. You couldn't even see your hand an inch in front of your face. There is zero light. And so you're already disoriented. She already could barely walk in a well-lit room. Now she's in a fucking icebox with no light. And so she's stuck in this freezer. Okay. And we're now going to cut back to her friends who left her on the 9th floor in that elevator bank when they went back to go retrieve her phone and her keys. And at around 3:55 a.m., her friends could be seen making their way into the lobby. And as they walk in the lobby, there's a lot of this going on. There seems to be some confusion. It seems to be that they were looking for somebody, their friend. It's very clear that they had been searching for their friend and their search had led them into the lobby. And they get to the lobby and out of desperation, they continue to look around when at 4 a.m. they decide to call Miss Kenneka Jenkins' mom and ask, hey, has Kenneka, did she come home? No? Okay. Because we're at the hotel. Yeah, we went to a party at a hotel, by the way. Sorry. We're here at the hotel and we left about an hour ago and we can't find her anywhere. So I don't know what to. And so the mom is she's very much alarmed at what's going on, but she can't go to the fucking hotel because Kenneka is using the mom's car. So she's stranded at the house in Chicago, Illinois, and she can't get to Rosemont to look for her daughter. And so she decides, let me just call my fucking daughter and see where she's at. One, she shouldn't be at this damn party in the first place, so she's going to get it. And two, this is not a good situation to be in, so I need to get a hold of her. So she calls and ring, ring, ring. Kenneka's phone begins ringing. Not in the hands of a Miss Kenneka Jenkins, but in the hands of Kenneka Jenkins' friend who still had the phone after she retreated from that party. And her friend answers the phone, say, hey, yeah, by the way, we have the car keys and we have her phone because she left it in the hotel room and we went to go get it back. We went back to go get it for her, and that's why we lost her in the first place. And so the mom is completely unsettled, okay? And they hang up, and at 4:06 a.m., Kenneka's friends, they make their way into the parking lot and began searching for the parking lot. They do this for a few minutes, and at 4:19 a.m., they make their way back into the lobby, even more confused because she is nowhere to be found inside, and now she's nowhere to be found outside. And at 4:20 a.m., they kind of collect themselves. They decide to regroup in that same lobby, and they begin to search again. They search outside at 4:22, and at 4:27, they search back inside. So now you can see, given these timestamps, there seems to be a mad dash. They spent literally 2 minutes in the parking lot, running around looking. So there seems to be some panic that's setting in. There seems to be some serious fear and realization that, holy shit, our friend is lost and she is completely incapable of taking care of herself right now because she is so drunk. And so at 4:35 a.m., they re-enter the side entrance of the hotel, the same side entrance that they went through when they first arrived there. And at 5:05 a.m., they could be seen making a mad dash, a sprint back into the parking lot of the hotel through the main door. And they get into Kenneka's car and they make their way to Kenneka's mom's house, and they alert Miss Teresa, Kenneka's mom, about what's going on, and they make their way back to the hotel. Now, Teresa gets back to the hotel a little bit after 5:30 a.m. and they begin searching, and Miss Teresa, Kenneka's mom, she makes her way to the receptionist desk and she says, hey, my daughter had snuck and went to some party in this hotel on the 9th floor. 927 is the room. And we've been looking for about 2 hours, and we cannot find my daughter anywhere. We've searched high, we've searched low, we've searched in, we've searched out. Can we please use your surveillance footage and trace her steps after she arrived at the hotel and maybe get an indication or an exact point of where she is? To which the fucking receptionist responds with no. That they don't have access to the surveillance footage. That is something that only the security has access to. And so for whatever fucking reason, this part gets me so mad, they did not contact the security of that hotel. Now, mind you, at this point in the story, Miss Kenneka Jenkins has been in that freezer for about an hour and a half, okay? It's safe to suggest that at this point, she's still okay. Even though it's an extremely cold freezer, let's say that she began to succumb to hypothermia, it's only been an hour and a half. Worst case scenario, she still could have recovered. And this is an hour and a half into her being in that fucking freezer. And so she's told no. And they continue searching. It is now 7:15 a.m. And Teresa's mom decides that she is fed up and she has had enough. She can't really trust what Kenneka's friends are telling her about the whole situation because they're all fucking teenagers, man. They're young adults and they know they're in trouble. They're out doing shit they shouldn't be doing. So Miss Teresa isn't really trusting that she is getting the full info from her friends. And she obviously can't go to the fucking staff of the hotel because they're too lazy to get up off their asses and check the surveillance footage. So Teresa, she being Mama Bear, she takes matters into her own hands. She sneaks off and goes into the parking lot and sits in her car and phones the Rosemont Police Department. Roll the clip.
911, where's the address of your emergency?
Yes, I'm at the Crown Plaza at O'Hare Airport, and I was calling because my daughter came to a party here last night, a gathering with her friends, and now her friends, they said that they left on the front of the hotel, and she's not able to be found now. She's 19 years old.
And you said that and you said the Crown Plaza at O'Hare Airport?
Yes. Yes, and they said that when her friends was asking earlier today, like about 4 o'clock in the morning, because they run the video cameras, they said that they didn't have no camera.
Are you sure you don't mean the Crown Plaza in Rosemont?
Yes, the Crown. Yes, it is. I'm sorry, the Crown Plaza in Rosemont. That's exactly where it's at. I'm
okay,
so sorry.
No, it's okay. And have you and you said you spoke with the
front desk? I'm sitting outside, right in front of the hotel in their parking lot right now.
And they were saying that they haven't seen your daughter since she left, or?
No, this is a different set. This is a different it's a new shift, and they said that they haven't seen her. Well, of course they wouldn't have seen her because this is like 3 or 4 in the morning. My daughter, she was with 3 of her friends, but her 3 friends said, which then these kids won't tell the truth. They said that they went upstairs to get her cell phone. And when they went to get her cell phone, she was standing in the lobby, in the front lobby. And then when they came back down, she wasn't there anymore.
No, I completely understand. Is that she's only been gone for a couple hours. She's, I don't know, maybe she's, she could be somewhere with one of her friends or something because, I mean, it is only a couple hours since you hadn't seen her, correct? Or since her friends supposedly hadn't seen her?
Correct. Let's say about 3 to 4 hours now, they said. They told me. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning when they called me.
Yeah. Are you looking to file a missing persons report then, or are you just... Or would you... I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm so sorry, sir, but I just want to know, is it possible that maybe they can look at the cameras and see, it's because they send the police out here and ask them to look at the cameras and see if they've seen her on their cameras around that time?
I was about to say, even if I did send an officer, it would take a little bit in order for us to get the camera footage and for us to pass it on to the detectives division.
Okay. Okay. So what would you suggest?
Well, again, the only thing I would suggest maybe just give her a couple hours. She could have went somewhere with one of her other friends. I mean, and who knows what her friends are saying is true. You know what I mean?
Exactly. You could tell, not to be saying, you could tell it don't sound right. I'm a parent. I've been young before, and it's not sounding right. It don't sound right. Period. That's why I came out here myself, because and then it sounded like they had been drinking. Honestly.
Yeah.
And I asked them, did she drink? And they said she had only 1 cup. But okay, my daughter ain't the type that normally, she can't even take liquor. Her liquor level is just like mine. We can't take liquor. We cannot take liquor. We take a sip of liquor, we drunk. Honestly.
No, I completely understand.
And I'm like, 1 cup is too much for her, And I like I asked them, and then they end up with her cell phone. I pay her cell phone bill every month to make sure my daughter has a phone. How did she love her phone? I don't understand why would she leave her cell phone with you all and just go disappear? And she know I just had surgery. She know my predicament.
No, yeah. Well then, so that in that case, what I would recommend, just go home, relax a little bit, give it some time. Of all we know, she very well could still be in the room. She could just be passed out. Again, you know how it is. You drink it the night before, you get, you know what I mean, whatever else have you.
Now, if the negligence of the staff of the Crown Plaza Hotel upset you, then my goodness, the negligence of the 911 dispatcher in refusing to file a missing persons report for Miss Kenneka Jenkins and refusing to even send any police units to the location of the incident is absolutely fucking disgusting. That ought to get you beyond heated, because it got me beyond heated. I mean, there's some things in this story that I'm telling you, like, if these people would have done their fucking jobs when they were asked to do it, then once again, this story would be completely different. There wouldn't even be a story, okay? And so Miss Teresa, she's told to relax, go home, just chill, and call us back in a couple of hours at 10 a.m. if Miss Kinneka still doesn't pop up, and then we'll take it seriously, okay? And so that now takes us to around 8:30, not a.m., 8:30 p.m., okay? Where the Rosemont Police Department finally get to the hotel of the incident, not because there's a fucking missing teenager, but because Miss Teresa had rounded the troops and the whole family was there, including some of the friends that were at the party. And they're now on multi-stories throughout the hotel, knocking on doors, searching high, searching low, asking guests if they have seen this lady. They had a picture of her, Miss Kenneka Jenkins, if they had seen her, and they're getting still no luck. And out of desperation, they fucking pull the fire alarm, and all the rooms begin clearing out. And that is when the staff decides to call the police, and they call the police on Miss Kenneka's mom for disturbing the peace and disrupting business, okay? And so the police get there, and instantly they are told what's happening by Miss Teresa's mom and why they were called out and why they pulled the fire alarm in the first place. And the police take Miss Teresa's side, and they're like, well, what did the footage look like? I mean, what was she doing in the footage? You haven't seen you haven't seen the fucking footage yet? And so instantly the police are like, yo, staff, you motherfuckers need to pull up this footage so we can see where this girl is at and get some answers and help locate this girl, okay? And so they finally do that, and that's when they see that a Miss Kenneka Jenkins had stumbled all throughout the basement of the hotel when at 3:55 a.m. she makes her way into that vacant kitchen and disappears. Okay. And they begin to panic, the staff, and they themselves send out a search party. They are searching all throughout the basement. And that is when the assistant food and beverage manager of the hotel walks his way into the same kitchen that Kenneka was spotted in 17 hours ago, and makes his way towards that same cooler that Teresa walked in 17 hours ago. And he then slowly opens that same freezer that Miss Kenneka stumbled her way in 17 hours ago, and discovers the lifeless body of Miss Kenneka Jenkins lying on her side, face down in the corner, frozen solid. In the 17 hours that she had been in that kitchen or in that freezer that reached temperatures of 8 degrees Fahrenheit, she was literally turned, and I hate to be so graphic, but I must paint these visuals, into a block of ice. This poor fucking girl.
301 here. Oh, fuck. 301, everything 10-4? Negative. I have that subject in the kitchen in a freezer. She is frozen solid.
The manager freaks out. He quickly runs out of that kitchen, runs up out of the basement into the lobby of the hotel, grabs one of the officers and alerts him to the situation that is in the freezer down in that basement. Okay. Later on that night, Miss Kenneka Jenkins' mother, Miss Teresa Martin, was pulled into a private room within the hotel where she was notified that her daughter was found and the condition that she was found in. And Miss Teresa, this poor thing, she is hysterical. And she quickly runs out of the private room. She runs into the lobby, runs out of the main doors of the lobby, and she loses it. Okay. Later on that night, or the following morning, it's now September 10th, 2017, at 4:15 a.m., the wee hours of the morning, Miss Teresa Martin would re-enter the hotel and identify the body of Miss Kenneka Jenkins, and it is confirmed to be her, and the search is over. The 17-hour ordeal has finally come to an end. Okay. Now we're going to get into the autopsy. Okay. It's the same day. It's now 10 a.m. on September 10th, 2017. An autopsy is performed at the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office. There is no evidence of foul play that is reported. There was some bruising that was seen on the ankle of Miss Kenneka Jenkins, but it's the same ankle that the shoe was missing from. I mean, the shoe was it wasn't missing. It was right behind her, but it was not on her foot. Okay. So another kind of red flag, like why were her clothes kind of like half like off, and why was her like shoe off, and why did she look to be in the condition that she was in? And then she received a toxicology report. Okay. And the toxicology report, now a toxicology report is pretty much like an autopsy, but they're just looking for anything that was unusual that was found in the bloodstream that could maybe be linked to a death, right? Used as evidence or some answers as to what the fuck happened. And in that autopsy, of course, they found a lot of alcohol in her system. They did find caffeine in her system. She had been drinking energy drinks that night. They also found a prescription medication in her system by the name of topiramate. Okay. Now, topiramate is a medication. It's a pill that is used to treat severe headaches like migraines. And it is also medication that is used to prevent seizures in those dealing with epilepsy. Okay. So it's like a muscle relaxant. Okay. It's also used for weight loss. And in some cases, it's even used to treat mood disorders as well as eating disorders. Okay. And so that is found in her system. That is noted. It's quite odd. And the official report is that she had succumbed to hypothermia after being exposed to extreme cold, with the effects of hypothermia being ramped up by the alcohol and topiramate that was in her system. Now, those of you that don't know, like, you know, when you drink alcohol and it's that point in the night, you're feeling buzzed, you're sipping, and you get real warm. If you party with me back in the day, you'll know that, like, you might see me at a house party with my fucking shirt unbuttoned all the way down to my belly button because I'm like hot. You get hot when you drink alcohol. That's because alcohol is a vasodilator. So let's break down that word, vasodilator. Vaso meaning vascular, the vascular system, veins, blood vessels, all that fun stuff. Dilate means to open up, relax and open up, right? When your eyes dilate, they open up. So when you have a vasodilator in your system, what's going to happen is it's going to open up the blood vessels, the veins, and that's what happens when you drink alcohol, okay? And so when you are dealing with extreme cold, exposure to extreme cold, the blood will rush from the outer extremities of the body, your arms and legs, and will sort of rush to protect and keep vital organs, the heart, the brain, warm, okay? Well, when you have a vasodilator and you're dealing with hypothermia, one, the systems that keep your body warm, they shut down, hence hypothermia. And two, if your veins are dilated, all of the blood that should be protecting your organs is now in your arms, it's back in your legs. It's so you get hot, you get warm, okay? And so you couple all that together, and it's a recipe for your body not being able to keep itself at a certain temperature, in this case warm, and it speeds up the process of hypothermia, okay? And that is the official reported reason as to what took the life of a Miss Kinneka Jenkins. Now, we're going to address some things here. We're going to address some conspiracies, if you will, okay? Because this whole story here is shrouded in conspiracy, okay? If you Google this story or look it up on YouTube, I guarantee you're gonna get more conspiracy videos than actual videos reporting of this incident, right? And so one of the major red flags was when they discovered her body in the freezer. Okay. It looked as if she had been like attacked. Okay. Because she had some bruising on her foot, and her clothes appeared to be like they were in the process of being taken off. Now, I saw the actual photos from the crime scene. I'm not going to link those anywhere in this video. I'm not going to put them in the video. You can go and look them up if you wish to do so, okay? It appears like her fucking clothes were like... And so you ask yourself, like, if she wasn't attacked and she's in a freezer and she's cold as hell, why would she take her clothes off? Okay. Well, one of the funny and quite peculiar things about hypothermia, when they are recovering bodies of people that have succumbed to hypothermia, they will find that a lot of times these people are almost completely either in their boxers or just straight up nude. They like begin stripping their clothes off. Well, like I said earlier, when the body is succumbing to hypothermia, the function in the body that keeps the body and the vital organs warm, they begin to shut down. Okay. And so you have the blood that is being redirected en masse to the blood vessels and the veins that line your skin. And so just like when you drink too much, or just like when you're out on a hike and you forget your water, in the summertime, you overheat. You actually feel as if you're overheating, even though you're quite literally freezing to death. And so these people that succumb to hypothermia, they can be found, like I said, like completely stripped naked. They have completely unclothed themselves, because even though they are literally freezing to death, in their mind, they are burning up. They're hot. So much so to the point that they begin stripping naked. And that's exactly what Miss Kinneka Jenkins was doing. She was like unpeeling her clothing off because she was getting hot. Okay. Another theory is, what the fuck was a muscle relaxer doing in her system? Okay. So this one is interesting. This one is interesting, and this one is key. This one, I believe, is the answer to the whole situation here. Okay. So the medication topiramate, it is a muscle relaxer, and it is prescribed to adults. Kinneka Jenkins was 19 years old at the time. She was an adult. Okay. The toxicology report revealed that the amount of topiramate that was found in her blood would suggest that she had been taking topiramate for quite some time, that she was on some sort of regular regimen for topiramate. Okay. So it is believed that she was prescribed by her primary physician this topiramate, and she was either using it to treat her for weight loss, or perhaps she had some underlying eating disorder, or perhaps she had a mental battle that she was going through and that she was using topiramate to help, which it also was prescribed for as well. And because she was 19, that business was kept between her and her doctors, man. And so, it's widely believed that she had been receiving medication or prescription for topiramate, and she was actually regularly taking it. Now, one of the side effects, some of the side effects of topiramate are confusion, dizziness, loss of motor skills, slow thinking, loss of coordination, and poor judgment. And these symptoms are quite literally doubled if you have either weed or alcohol in your system. And she had quite a bit of alcohol in your system, thus intensifying the side effects of the topiramate. And the reason I say that this is a key factor in the story is if you look at the surveillance footage from her in that basement, she is displaying all of those symptoms at the highest degree. She was absolutely dizzy. She had no coordination. She was clearly beyond confused, and her judgment was not the best. And that is what leads me to believe that she stumbled into that freezer on her own free will after she had quite literally, unknowingly poisoned herself after taking for some time topiramate, a very strong medication with these horrific side effects, and mixing that with alcohol. I mean, it checks every single box. And if you look at topiramate, you're not even supposed to be operating like machinery or even driving when you're on this medication. It's extremely powerful. It's extremely potent. You take this shit and you're out for the day. That's what you're not supposed to take it and go out to a house party, and you're not supposed to take it and get drunk. And so this is, you know, it's a sad story. It absolutely is, but it's a story that is so shrouded in conspiracy that anybody that was even around her is now a suspect. From the friends who had spent 24 hours searching for her to the staff that it displayed extreme negligence, but I think it's nothing more than that fucking negligence, okay? I have yet to meet a part-time worker who took their job that fucking seriously, okay? Everybody looks like prime suspect here, okay? Because it is indeed a weird story. But if you stop and you analyze the elements for a second and you get to the bottom of what was going on and what was in her system, then the story as it is reported begins to make sense. That Miss Kenneka Jenkins was extremely under the influence, under a cocktail of medication and alcohol, was left alone on the 9th floor of a hotel that she was not familiar with, and through her substance-induced hypnosis, wandered into that lobby, walked herself into that freezer, locked herself inside of said freezer, and succumbed to hypothermia. And that is the story of a Miss Kenneka Jenkins. Let's put this thing to rest, guys. Let's put this thing to rest. Let's leave her friends alone. Let's stop harassing that fucking hotel. Let's let her mother, mourn the loss of this amazing young woman. And let's learn something from this, guys. Let's exercise some precaution in our everyday life, not only for us, but for those around us. And this concludes another episode of The Midnight Show. I thank you all once again so much for tuning in. Your viewership means the world to me. Now, this is the part where you do what you do best. You like, you comment, you subscribe to your boy. And I will continue to put out more heat for you guys, okay? If you made it this far in the video, I appreciate you greatly for that. And we will sign off. This is The Midnight Show. I bid you all a farewell. And until then, we'll see you next week. Peace.